Hi, today I am sharing the process video of this mixed media card that I have made using Garcia Magic Love Collection. The paper that I have used for this is called Loving You Always. The base of my card measures 5 inches by 7 inches, and with each successive layer I reduce it by 1/4 of an inch. I have 3 layers on top, alternating between the pattern paper and the white cardstock. So this is my top layer. I have used some texture paste with Tim Holtz stencil to add a layer, to add some dimension to the paper. I've also used some white gesso in the background. Now here I am using some embossing powder, which is Flurries by Ranger, and I've used it directly on the texture paste. I had already added texture paste to the card before the idea of embossing powder came to me, so I am reapplying texture paste at the same spots so I can stick the embossing powder on the top. In the hindsight, I should have only applied the embossing powder to the edges where it would still be visible at the end, as majority of this was covered up by other artifacts on top. On occasions, you will see me using the heat gun at the back of the card. That is to prevent the warping. In the next step, I will be using some inks in and around the texture paste. This first one is Cadence Really Deep Pink, quite dark, and I am using some water to let it flow around the crevices. It is also a good idea to use clear gesso on the paper first if you are going to be applying water or water-based inks on top of the paper. This stops the water from seeping through the pattern paper and the paper will warp less. Here I am using Nouveau Shimmer ink in, again, similar pink shade. Here I am using white gesso to apply over any of the dark ink patches so they don't stand out. The focal point for my card was going to be this frame, so I planned everything around the frame. I am using some of this cheesecloth as the first base layer. Then I have got this floral lace that I wanted to include, and this is still the planning phase where I am planning around the frame. I then added this floral tulle as the backing for the frame. It's another layer that went on top of the cheesecloth. I have got this paper straw that I wanted to use to add some height to the frame as well as for the aesthetic reasons. I had these wood pieces that I wanted to add to my card. I have embossed them, so I found that the easiest way was to dab the pieces onto the ink pad rather than the other way around. So just using them as stamps and dabbing on top of the ink pad. I'm using white embossing powder to cover my piece. And I would repeat the same process with the other pieces as well. I had to emboss these pieces twice to get the effect that I wanted. I had split my floral lace into two pieces at this point to get the desired effect. I have also got the Magic Love Collection ephemera. I had already prepared these pieces that I'm using here by distressing the edges and using some distress ink on the edges as well. I used a pink matching ink for that. You will see me assessing how each ephemera piece looks against the frame. I have used some thread at the back of these floral pieces, some gold thread, and I would place each piece and then reassess how the placement looked against the frame. I used Tim Holtz gold distress ink to create these paint splatters. Here I am positioning the straw pieces against the frame to get the correct alignment. I then used the hot glue to fix these straw pieces in place. I introduced these gold glitter die cuts to add in some more gold so it looks well balanced. At this point, I finally glue the frame in place. The paper flowers that I used on this project were Prima marketing paper flowers. I then added a little texture paste to all the bits and pieces on the card to give it a bit of speckled snow look. I then added this Finaware effect paste in crushed ice all over the flowers and the ephemera pieces. This adds a nice iridescent icy sheen to the project. I then take similar effect paste in Phoenix to add a little bit over the frame and flowers. I took a piece of twine about a foot long and tied it into a bow, and then used some glue to add it on the side of the frame. I then take some art stones and add it to my card using a heavy gel medium. I had some floral sequins that I will place on the card randomly placing it all over. I then take some dewdrops and randomly place them all over the project as well. Here I have got some gold wax that I place on my frame with my finger, just trying to give it a bit more antique vintage look rather than stark white. And then I follow it up with some wax in pearl color and just run my finger over the frame, randomly placing it, again trying to give it a bit more antique look to the frame. This added really nice pearl sheen. Here I am adding the heavy gel medium all over the flower edges to then add some diamond dust on top. I am now attaching the top of my card to a white cardstock. I am distressing the pattern paper that will go directly over my card base. I am now applying the tape so I can fix this layer onto my card base. I am lifting the edges of the cards so it looks a bit more dimensional. I finally add the embossed wood piece up on top of my frame. Thank you for watching.